Shalom. This week's Torah portion, Parshat Vayigash, we come to the moral climax of the entire Joseph cycle. In a few verses, we'll find out that Joseph reveals his true identity to his brothers. But prior to that, Benjamin, the youngest brother, is set up, and a goblet is placed into his bag after the brothers share this wonderful meal together with the vizier of Egypt, not knowing he's Joseph. Joseph sets up the family. He puts up a goblet into the bag of Benjamin and sets the family up as a test. What will happen? Well, Judah comes forward and says, it's not possible. It is not possible for you to put Benjamin in jail. I am personally responsible for Benjamin. And if something happens to him, I can't go home. I can't tell my father. My life will be on the line. And the word that he uses to describe this deep responsibility that he has for his brother Benjamin, the word there is arevut. And I'll share with you the verse. He says, Ki abdecha arev et hana'ar me'im avi lemor, im lo avienu elecha v'chatati la'avi kol hayamim. Now your servant has pledged himself, that word arev, to pledge himself to the boy, to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, I shall stand guilty before my father forever. So this word arev, which means to take responsibility for another person, has a financial meaning, but it also has a number of other deeper meanings that relate to this idea of Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze Bazeh, that all of Israel is responsible for one another. So from this verse here, and this term here that Judah uses to describe his very entwined, deep-seated responsibility that he has for his brother, we learn a whole principle of the idea of arevut, of mutual responsibility that we take on for one another as Klal Yisrael, for the people of Israel. The Lubavitcher Rabbi offers three interpretations of this idea of what is arevut. What is this mutual responsibility that we share with one another? The first example is to take responsibility to convey that is a moral duty for Judah to care for his brother, meaning all Jews have an obligation to care for one another physically and spiritually and emotionally. And we derive from this the idea of tochecha, which is rebuke, that if we see our brethren doing something wrong, that it's kind of upon us to pull them over, pull them aside and say, hey, let me help you out. Let me help to get you back on track. All right. So in a way, we're seeing Judah helping to put Joseph back on track, right? Because this speech is the catalyst for Joseph finally revealing who he is, although Judah doesn't know he's doing that at the time. A second understanding or definition of arevut is sweetness. And we learn that from that root word, arev, which is used in our morning prayers. After we say the blessing commanding us to, thanking God for commanding us to study Torah, we say, V'ha'arevna Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratzcha b'finu, sweeten the taste of Torah in our mouths. So that word arev, which is used here to mean to be a guarantor, to take responsibility for one another. It could mean to take moral responsibility, physically, spiritually, emotionally. But it also has this different definition of sweetening. Because to take responsibility for someone we love isn't just an obligation, it's something we do from the heart, because we want to, because we care, not just because we have to. And then the third definition of arevut comes from ma'ariv, the word used for evening time, or the prayer that's said in the evening time of the mixture of day and night. That's what evening is, right? A mixing of light and darkness, of day and night. How does this relate to the idea of arevut? That the Jewish people are all connected together. We're commingled. Yes, we're separate individuals, but the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And we see this in mystical tradition where every Jew together is forming a holy body. The community is one community, but like a body, that there's the head and the eyes and the arms and the hands and the feet and the heart and the spine, and that each of us in this community has a job to do, has our service to do, and we each have an integral role. So the Talmud says in the Yerushalmi Talmud, if one hand by accidentally uses a knife and by accidentally cuts the other hand, you don't smack the hand that cut. Right? We have great compassion for the hand that was cut, and we try to be more careful next time. Right? So that idea of trying to take responsibility for each other with love and with sweetness, and in a sense that we are integrated and that we are one whole. And finally, I'd like to bring this teaching into to current events. In this war in Israel, we've had an opportunity to see how it's possible to come together as a unified whole in mutual responsibility. And we've seen some remarkable idealism, outstanding courage and heroism, not only by the fighters and the soldiers, but by the family members and parents who are really struggling right now. Well, one such person, a shining example of this kind of selflessness and arivut, of interconnected and understanding our mutual responsibility, is a message that was sent by Iris Chaim, the mother of Yotam Chaim, Zichrona Livracha, who was one of the 3 hostages who had been mistakenly, tragically shot last week. She sent this voice message today to the unit in the IDF, who misidentified her son as a terrorist and fired at him, taking his life. And this is what she said. In translation, Shalom to the Bislach Brigade, Battalion 17. This is Iris Chaim. She says, I'm Yotam's mother. I wanted to tell you that I love you very much, and I embrace you from afar. And I know that everything that happened is completely not your fault. It's nobody's fault, except Hamas. May their memory be wiped away from the face of the earth. And she says, I ask you to stay safe and always keep in your thoughts that what you're doing is the best possible thing in the world to help us as the Jewish people. And we all need you to be safe and sound. She says, don't hesitate for a single moment. If you see a terrorist, don't think that you've deliberately killed a hostage. You need to protect yourself, because that's the only way you will be able to protect us. She goes on to say, we invite you to come visit us at your earliest opportunity, whoever is willing. We want to see you with our own eyes and embrace you and tell you that what you've done, as painful as it is to say, and as sad as it is, was likely the right thing to do in the moment. And none of us are judging you or angry with you. And she sends these regards on her behalf and behalf of her husband and her other children. And we just want to highlight this moment here, because this is the true meaning of Kol Yisrael, Aravim Zabazeh, that we're in this together, that we share the pain and we share the glory. We share the suffering and we share the celebration. We share the hope and the prayer that all of Israel will come through this war without any further loss of life, that every single captive will be returned home, because we are not whole until we are all returned home. May there be no further any violence, any further loss of life. May we see peace come speedily in our days. And may we see the unity of Israel stronger for all that we've come through, as difficult as it has been. And may we say, Am Yisrael Chai. Let's continue to take care of each other in ways big and small. And let us say, Amen.